ABDL Regression Story Part 1 The Meeting. My name is Mark. I was a history major in college specializing in Victorian history. That is until I met a girl named Lisa. Lisa was studying for her PhD in psychology. It was a typical day in the early fall. The weather was still very warm. I had come out to the commons to sit and bask in the noon sun, while I read one of the books I had discovered in the library. I was really fascinated with the Victorian-style clothes I was seeing. The unique thing about it was that these were young boys, all dressed in female clothing. I couldn't tell from the pictures I saw that these individuals were not female. Deep inside, I had a secret fantasy of dressing this way, and the pictures really were of interest to me. I didn't notice at first, but an extremely beautiful young woman had come and sat on the bench across from me. The first thing I noticed was her unique and delicate perfume. It had a most intoxicating aroma which caught my attention. I couldn't believe how much her perfume alone had caught my attention. I looked up to see who it was. I was greeted with the most beautiful vision of female perfection I had seen. A small gust of wind came and blew several of her papers along the bench she was sitting on. As she scrambled to get them, I got a most beautiful glimpse of her dress. I just had to meet this girl. One of the papers she was chasing had by chance come to rest at my feet. This was the perfect opportunity. I grabbed the page before the breeze could carry it away. I walked up to her and said, "Are you missing this?" She gasps and turns around suddenly. She quickly sits on the bench and pulls the hem of her dress down. She blushes. She had on a most adorable short pink sundress with puffy sleeves and delicate lace. She also had her hair tied in 2 ponytails. I couldn't believe how adorable she looked. I introduced myself. "My name is Mark. One of your papers flew across the way and I managed to get it before it got lost." She looks at me bewildered for a second and then smiles. She says softly in a very sweet, delicate voice, "Thank you very much. That's part of my report due today in English literature. It would have been terrible to tell my professor that the wind got it." We both laugh. I ask, "What's your name?" "My name's Mark and I'm trying my best to major in Victorian history." She giggles softly and replies, "My name's Lisa. I'm studying psychology and am trying my best to get a PhD in psychiatry. I am to the point where I have to do research and collect physical data to defend my thesis. I have, so far, been unable to find anyone willing to be the test subject." I sit on the bench beside her and help her sort the disheveled pages. Her perfume is soft and delicate, but its effect on me is incredible. I ask, "What kind of research are you doing? It's possible I might be able to get someone to volunteer if I knew more about it." She giggles again and says, "I'm doing my thesis on regression therapy and the curative effects it has on many psychological issues, like schizophrenia or bipolar disorder." I had never heard of regression therapy before, and was curious. I ask, "What, pray tell, is regression therapy?" She looks at me with her bright green eyes and says, "It's where an adult is taken and reduced to an infantile state. The subject would be treated as a baby in all aspects until the psyche of the individual takes on the desired characteristics. Once this state is achieved, we simply retrain the individual back into the desired adult state." I know the expression on my face was classic. I saw her smile. I began to shake my head. I say, "I see why you can't find volunteers. I doubt very seriously if anyone would voluntarily take part in that study." She drops her head as she put the newly arranged report into her book bag. She sighs and says, "So far, I tend to agree with you. However, I feel somewhere on campus there's an individual who would love nothing more than to be in diapers and dressed as a little baby. I just know it. I could feel excited about this prospect in me. Only thing was, I didn't want that with this girl. What I wanted had absolutely nothing to do with being regressed back to babyhood." She looks back up and asks cheerily, What's that book you have been staring at so intently? She points to the book on Victorian children's clothes I had in my hand. I smile and open the book to the page with the teenaged boys dressed in baby girls' clothes. I show her the page. I ask, "What do you see wrong with this picture?" She scoots over beside me. She takes the book by one edge and looks intently at the picture. It was a picture of what looked like a very young and very cute little baby girl. She was dressed in a very short baby dress with puffy sleeves and a ribbon tied around her waist. It had a Peter Pan collar with delicate lace all around the hem and sleeves. The dress was held out by a really stiff crinoline petticoat. Underneath, you could see the lacy pantaloons. She had ponytails, and the hair was curled into cute ringlets. She shakes her head and says, "All I see is a really cute little baby girl all dressed up." I laugh and reply, "It's not a little baby girl. It's a boy." She gasps and looks closer at the picture in the book. Unless you read the page or the caption under the picture, there was no way to tell it was a boy. She looks back at me. There was a strange sparkle in her beautiful green eyes that made her even more attractive. She said with a laugh, "And I suppose you have absolutely no desire to dress that way?" Her question caught me by surprise. Yes, I did have a secret desire to be dressed that way. I know my expression gave me away in a split second before I got myself under control. I replied with a strange lilt to my voice I couldn't control at first. "Why, no. Why would you say that?" She giggles sweetly and replies, "Oh, nothing. Just it's sorta odd to see this particular book." I recovered and replied quickly, "It's part of the history I am studying." She says softly, "I do like the clothes though. With a little modernizing, they would be really cute." I was really attracted to this girl and she seemed very friendly. An idea came to mind. I said, "Well, how would you like to come over to a party a friend of mine is having?" She looked at me and asked, "There's a party?" I replied, "Sure. A really wild party where, everyone all gets drunk, has a really good time. Besides, almost everyone on campus will be there and you may find a subject for you study." She said sweetly. I just smite at that. "Okay, you're on. When and where?" I reply, 7 o'clock at number 51 Albatross Lane. Just as the bell rings, she giggles and says, "Okay, I'll meet you there 7 sharp. Bye, I have to go to class now." She stands gracefully and is gone. Her wonderful hypnotic perfume lingering in the air.